Ultraman Canada is an event that takes place once a year in British Columbia. It's a 3-day event that encompasses 6.2 miles of swimming, 260 miles of biking, and the 52.4 mile run over 3 days. It's definitely going to be a journey that myself and 39 other athletes will be taking together. It's not a race, but for anybody that does finish, it's an accomplishment all on its own. When I got invited, it was pretty surreal. I was incredibly nervous and didn't know what I was getting myself into. But after I got a coach that knew how to train me in ultras and also balance my work life on top of that, I was pretty excited going into it. But the journey sure did occur, starting with the training itself. It was pretty intensive. You had to have a lot of strength and dedication. It required a lot of 4 a.m. wake-ups to get some training in before work. And after a long 10-11 hour day at work, it required some more training. But the reason I did it is because I wanted to inspire, as well as try to prove that you can do anything that you set your mind to, that the only limitations you have are those that you set on yourself. A lot of people ask me why I'm doing Ultraman. It's definitely for the journey. And also I had my sisters and my dad supporting me as crew members. I don't think there could have been anything more special than that. Ultraman Canada began with a 6.2 mile swim and a 90 mile bike on day one. I was pretty nervous for the swim, but I was handed probably the most amazing swim escort I could, Lynn Redmond. She was an incredible person. The first day I met her, she put my mind at ease that I'd be able to complete this with confidence. And as I went through the swim, every time I breathed over my right shoulder, I looked at her face and I saw a lot of confidence, which gave me the confidence in return. I stayed right by her boat, and when I came up for nutrition and water, she was right there giving me words of encouragement. And at the 3 hour mark, I just stopped in the water and I said, "Lynn, I think my arms are going to fall off." And she said, "You're almost there. Keep going." So I didn't want to disappoint her, so I just kept going and finished in 3 hours and 46 minutes, which for me was really good. I'm not a strong swimmer, but I was really happy coming out of that water. After I gave her a big hug and told her I love her about 500 times, I ran off into transition where my sisters were waiting for me.
Number 108, Kellie Smirnoff. Great job for the crew there. Our main crew will consist of Terry Jones, Carrie Neville-Dean and Heather Proctor.
After transition, I realized I was pretty dehydrated, but got on that bike, and I think the 90 miles on that bike, day one, was probably the hardest for me. After that swim, it was the temperatures were starting to rise, and it just was very difficult. My crew members, my dad and my two sisters, it was their first day truly crewing, and they were trying to get used to what it means to be a crew member and how far to go ahead of me, etc. And they did a fantastic job. I couldn't have asked for anything better. But I think it was definitely a challenge for all of us making it through day one. I think we learned a lot about ourselves, and I think we grew as a family, to say the least.
We had to make sure that we had everything ready prior, going shopping the day before the first day, making sure we had everything we needed, the ice and the nutrition and all the equipment, helping her get that ready, as well as after a particular day of a race, we had to unload the van, get everything ready for the next day and load that up as well. So that was a very important part of it. I think that we did a fantastic job for Kellie. I think we listened to what she needed and gave her what she asked for, and sometimes what we just thought she might have needed at the time. She was very gracious along the way, always saying please and thank you, even though we asked her to save her energy for the race, for the competition. I think we also did a great job, kind of keeping her calm, because she really saw that we were, we wanted to do this for her, and that, we wanted her to make sure that her mind was on that one thing and that we can take care of the rest. And we kind of have to prove that to make her feel at ease, and hopefully we did do that. And by the end of the third day, I think everything came together, and we had a fantastic journey together.
Day two, I think everything clicked. My sisters and dad definitely had a better feel on how to crew. I went into it a little bit nervous about meeting the 12-hour cutoff, but knew that I had to do it because I wanted to make it as an athlete in day three and not a participant. So the day started off. The temperatures were beautiful. Some headwinds and about 5,400 feet of climbing was light ahead, but I did it. The one biggest challenge on the 170-mile bike on day two was the wall. Everybody talked about the wall. Well, when I hit the wall, and I had to get off the bike and do about 5 minutes of walking. But other than that, I got back on the bike and through some really nasty hills on the second part of the bike course and some pretty nasty headwinds. The last 40 miles had us doing a 20-mile out and a 20-mile back. That 20-mile out was probably the most painful part, and some of my darkest moments occurred there. It was a lot of climbing. I made it through, and at the turnaround with the 20 miles back, I just stopped and I absorbed energy from my crew members, a lot of it, as well as nutrition and hydration. But the way back was incredible. Went about 24 miles an hour, cruised for the 20 miles, and just enjoyed the hell out of it, leading right back into the finish line. It was a phenomenal feeling. Day three was the 52.4 mile run. Definitely my strength, but went into it with a little trepidation on how my hip was going to hold out. I hadn't run much since March when I injured myself. It was all going to be mental at this point. When I started off, I felt great. Kind of loosened the legs up from the 2 days previous over the first couple miles, and then I got into my rhythm. It was pretty surreal because by the time you hit about the half marathon mark, it started to get very hilly. My sister started pacing me at about mile 5, and I don't think I could have asked for anything better. They really helped me keep my form, my confidence, and encouraged me. When we hit about a 10K going up the side of a mountain, probably about 30 miles into it, that's where the pain started to set in, and that's where I had some doubts. I never doubted I'd finish, but I definitely doubted that I could continue to run. But again, with my sisters by my side and seeing my dad as I went past the van and him cheering for me, it really kept my head up. My bad place really happened towards the end, the last 6K on the hill. My sisters would try to ask what I wanted for nutrition, and I just couldn't answer. I think they just saw it in my face that I was struggling. But they kept me going, and I owe them the world for that. The last 5 miles or so was downhill. My quads were killing me. But all I could think is, the finish line is near. I can taste it. I ran in the last 7 miles with my younger sister, Heather. And my twin sister, Carrie, was waiting there close to the finish to run in. When we ran to her, she said, "Dad's up there a few hundred feet. He's going to grab our hand and run in with us." And I started to lose it. It was pretty emotional. I've really felt the emotions I felt crossing the finish line at Ultraman Canada, holding hands with my 2 sisters and my dad. I proved that I could do it. I proved that the only limitations I had are those that I set on myself, and I knew I could do it. And it was with the help of my family that I did it, and I couldn't ask for anything more.